distracted too much by that. Right?
I get distracted very easily. Shiny objects.
It's going to be a long. It's going to be a long 30 minutes.
Yeah.
All right. Welcome everybody to our first episode of Rev Cycle Unscripted. Here we are.
Ever?
Well, Tina and I did a recording last week, so I guess that's technically the first, but
Okay.
you're our first guest.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, look at that.
I appreciate that.
Welcome in the house, Scott Cooper.
Thank you.
CRO Ovation? No, I don't know what your title. What's your title? I don't even know.
I'm the president.
President?
The president of Rev Cycle for Ovation Healthcare.
I don't know how you get that title. Like, what do you have to do to...
You work a lot of hours, you're really good at Excel spreadsheets, and you know a lot about Rev Cycle.
Yeah. I get one of the three of those, probably.
You're probably pretty good at all of them.
Yeah, and not the hours part.
Yeah, I'm a masochist.
you got problems.
Yeah.
Scott and I have been friends for several years. I don't know. I thought it'd be good to have you on the show. Like, you came and we did coffee and cardigans together, right?
We did, and I wore a not real cardigan because I don't own one. But
in your garage in California, in LA.
Which is strangely where I still spend most of my time working.
You're still working in the garage?
Yeah, it's nice. It's LA. It's like great outside.
It's true. It's totally true.
It doesn't get cold like in Detroit. I don't have to worry about that.
That's true. That's nice. All right. What are you working on these days? What's happening? What's happening in your world?
It's kind of the general ongoing Rev Cycle services. We are doing what we can to make sure that our clients are pretty happy, and we're collecting as much cash and minimizing denials, which is the game these days. We are explicitly trying to work on some AI pilots this year, so we've got 3 or 4 things in motion now that hopefully over the next month or 2 will come to fruition and will help to change the way our employees kind of experience
pilots. So what kind of what? Give me an example of something you're piloting.
So we do a lot of early out services, and we have a call center. And so we're currently working with a partner to try to sort how we can figure out automated chatbots for help with the call center, helping on phone calls where it's listening in the ear and, hopefully giving out responses. So we're trying to find ways to facilitate the patient interactions with our people and kind of give them more opportunities to interact and better opportunities to interact and hopefully more effective opportunities to interact. And all of this is investment to make sure that we can do better for our clients.
So tools kind of like for the actual user.
Tools that our users
like
can
your
use.
Call center reps, like.
Yeah, I think there's 2 ways. I think there's the chatbot where a patient goes on a portal.
I'm removing them from the phone call queue.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. I think that I mean, if we're going to get philosophical now, I think everybody. Oh, here we go.
Let's get philosophical.
Let's
get philosophical.
Generally, I think the overall impression with AI is it's just going to replace everything, right? Like I think everybody says, hey, your rev cycle in 3 years is going to be 80% AI, and you're going to have massive cost reduction. And while the AI thing is real and it's here, I don't know that it's as pervasive at the moment that everybody thinks it is, right? Like the whole we can automate your entire rev cycle today. Unlikely, right? There are parts of it that are much better, like coding. People were doing the clinical denials and the automated appeals and things like that. But really, I think over the next 3-4 years, the benefit of AI is really going to be decision support and making our existing team members more effective, not necessarily replacing them. So it's how do you put the tools, how do you have them work side by side with the AI tools to make their job easier, better, faster, all being with investment to make sure that the patient experience or our client experience is better.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think it's interesting as we go through this progression, right? A progression of we just need tools to help your staff be better, get rid of phone calls potentially. But I'm also thinking chatbot, I cringe because I'm just thinking of the Delta chatbot, and I'm like,
I like the Delta chatbot. It sends me text messages. It's great.
As fast as I can to get through, not getting to someone actually live. It doesn't help me.
So I think that's fair. I
know it's the first first or second generation of that technology. Yeah. It's not today's technology, clearly. Otherwise, it would actually solve some problems.
Well, I think what has happened is that the chat. Let's stick with this chatbot example. I think what you've seen, use your Delta example, is it's good for 4 or 5 very basic things.
Sure.
It's like, I want to rebook my ticket or my flight got canceled. And like, it's got very minimal use cases. And I think in those instances, the chatbot really is working to replace the human. Like, how many phone calls would Delta get about, hey, my flight's canceled or I need to change or whatever, that a human had to do that now maybe a human doesn't unless it gets escalated? I think people are still thinking about it from that perspective, but they're not realizing that, especially with something like Rev Cycle, which you could have a million questions, like endless complications.
Endless amount of
how do you create information? How do you use the AI to like get information or take the problem halfway there and then have the human solve the last half? And sure, there's going to be things where the whole thing is taken care of, but like, I think that's what everybody's focused on, when the truth is like, how do you use tools to make their job better?
The goal is like, let's just solve this one problem. We were doing this, you missed it in Phoenix. One thing you did miss was we were working with UT Southwestern on developing this voice agent in customer service, but actually all it was solving was medical records requests.
Yeah, but you could do like with an IVR, right?
But the 600, but there was like 600 calls a month out of like it was like 20% of calls was just that.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, let's just solve that problem and see if we can actually like get a voice agent that could do it.
Yeah.
And follow it. We're not solving all of it, right? We're not solving every call that comes in. We're not even attempting that. It's like solve the small things. Or for like your case, it might get you 30% of the way there, but it took up 30% of what the rep's time was.
Well, yeah, and the small things like the medical record request may take a ton of time. That may actually be 80% of the volume, right? Like it could be.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to think about the 80-20 rule here, and obviously people are going to prioritize whatever has the highest ROI. I still think that the biggest concern is that everybody's just like, how do I replace my entire team? And that's not what they should be thinking. It's how should I make my team better? How should I make the work better? How can I improve results for my clients?
Yeah, we're a ways away from replacing whole teams.
Yes, although I think I'm going to get yelled at. I think all the Silicon Valley, like the AI bulls, and there are a lot of them. There's a lot of them here, and with good reason. Think, hey, like, next year your entire rev cycle is going to be automated. Like, no. This is healthcare. It doesn't move that fast. There are obviously opportunities, there's bits and pieces, and I think over time it will iterate to that. But I do legitimately think that we're talking like a 5 to 10 year time frame before we get something that's like a complete shift from what we have. And maybe I don't think I'm bearish. I don't think I'm bullish. I'm maybe more of a realist here, which some people may hate, but that's my take.
I think that's probably accurate. I still think like unless something catastrophic happens with the way we interact with payers, I still think payers will shift enough, right? Yeah. And payers will shift enough, and it gets complex enough, and I think there's like dynamics that they won't like this, but Epic, who I respect. But the reality is, like, they're actually a complicating factor to a degree because we're so reliant on them making a change.
Yep.
So let's just say there's a progressive organization that's actually like cutting edge, right? But they're all of a sudden the system is limited by just the nature of how complex it already is, and like a system with, and I'm not picking an Epic, just happens to be that's the majority, right? Like there's still. Epic is still the one that might slow them down, even though they may make great innovations too. I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
it's fascinating because there's enough push and pulls.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't single them out, right? I think
I'm not singling them out.
It's the whole ecosystem.
It's the whole ecosystem.
It's all the Rev Cycle evangelists that are like, we need to make this simpler, right? And the problem is, like from a macro perspective, the problem is. You just have way too many like embedded interests, and there's no incentive alignment, and like there is value somewhere for all the different middlemen. And yeah, at some point, 5-10 years, somebody's going to figure it out where all of that value shifts to that new kind of fully automated entity. But there's so many vested interests.
So many.
That it's like impossible 100%. To get them all aligned. Like unless, like you said, unless there's like a seismic shift, like Medicare for all, something like that. But what you said is also interesting is forget about the middlemen or the vested interest on the provider side. Think about the payer side is you still got United, Blue Cross, whatever, who has effectively infinitely money to spend on this. And even if Rev Cycle does the whole AI thing and we automate and we figure it out, they've already been figuring out how to counteract that for 3 years. Yeah, exactly. They spent $1 billion figuring out what to do once we figure out how to do all the automated clinical appeals, right?
It's escalation, right? We get a gun, they get hand grenades.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really like a cat and mouse game, and that's the unfortunate truth is as much investment as you can make, as proactive as you can be on the provider side, you're still forced to be reactive to whatever the payers do or whatever the government does from a regulation standpoint, right? Like, you have no idea what they're going to do.
It's totally true.
And we don't have the big, powerful lobbyists that the payers do.
No, it's totally true. That could all change. It's the complexity, right? That always causes, like, whether you can, because, how many times you heard, like, outsiders be like, healthcare sucks. I was just at this, like, little party thing with some parents of, like, my daughters, right?
Yeah.
Like, friends, and I ended up having to explain, like, charges.
Oh,
and, like,
all the time. All the time.
I mean, and they were riveted, right?
All the time.
Because he's like, I don't know, this whole, you started with this, like, I should have been $500. I'm like, yeah, but you didn't pay that, right? He's like, no, I mean, my insurance said they gave this, like, this big discount. I was like, whoa, that's not real money. And then it's just like, people were riveted. They had no. Then I went on this, like, 15-minute tirade. They, like, none of them had any idea what I was talking about. No clue.
Yeah, like there's a general. You only understand it if you're in the game, right? The game, so to speak. The general population does not understand how this works, and to be fair, they don't need to understand how it works. The problem is that lack of understanding creates lots of friction and lots of headlines. Your example, I had the same thing. I was in business school. My roommate went to go see a doctor at UCLA. And like was there for a 5-minute primary care visit and got an EOB, and it was like $1,500, discount paid, whatever. And he was sitting there screaming in our living room. He's like, I was there for 5 minutes. How does that cost $1,500? I was like, it doesn't cost $1,500, dude. Like, just look at it, read it. It was $82 is what it was. But and what's crazy about that is, and this reminds me, I think when we were in Fort Worth at one of your leadership summits, you had somebody come talk about, I'll never forget this, you had somebody come talk about how the fact that they had to charge like $4 million for a drug because their contract was set up
right.
that the only way that they got reimbursed at cost was to charge that much. It was like it was $1 million experimental drug.
$20,000, but he needed to charge $4 million.
Yeah. Like and it's ridiculous.
No, I tried to explain. It was like, well, some of this is like over time. What happened was just insurers paid in a percent of charges, and so it was like the laziest way, the easiest way, which I would say laziest, because like the CFOs back then was like, I mean, let's raise the rates. And then I said, then today what we have is like 90% don't do that, like a very small percentage.
Yeah, it's like it's definitely shifted, and obviously.
Because I just heard this like yesterday. It was like, oh no, we did this. We increased our charges, and I was like, that still works? And they're like, yeah, a little bit.
So what's crazy about that is, for us at Ovation, and you know this, we serve kind of independent community rural hospitals that are much smaller, that don't necessarily have the big sophistication that one of the big systems has, and a lot of our clients are still percent charges, and so that charge master review every year is a big deal. It's like, hey, we're going to raise this, we're going to raise this, we're going to raise this. That's a big deal. That doesn't work, I think, at the giant systems anymore. To your point, like a lot of the payers have moved away from that. The contracts aren't set up that way. You got the value-based care arrangements, but for like where we play, that's a big deal. Like every year, that charge master goes up. That's like a big chunk of cash for them.
Because Ovation has a bunch of small hospitals, right? That you guys are doing all the billing for, doing all the everything administrative, right? Or you're running the hospital too, right?
So in many cases, yes. So we serve, let's call it the like $25 to $200 million net revenue range. That's kind of our bread and butter. We have much larger clients. We have some billion-dollar clients that we work with. But for the most part...
Critical access up to like a health system.
Yeah, exactly. But for the most part, we're playing in that $25 to $200 million net revenue range. And the whole idea behind the whole company more broadly is that we will do effectively everything to run your hospital except for the clinical piece. So we'll do your Rev Cycle, we'll do your IT, we'll do your supply chain and spend management. We'll do the interim CEO, CFO, board advisement thing. But the whole idea is like, if you're a hospital in a small town USA, and you can't find people and you don't have dollars to spend on tools and investment, it's really hard to find a CEO or CFO that wants to come work there. You don't have access to the big GPOs. Like, we will come in with kind of one unified solution and do that. And we don't have to do it all together. We do it, piecemeal. Some people just do Rev Cycle, some people just do supply chain. But the whole idea is we can take all 4 of our offerings together and go effectively run a hospital minus the doctors and the nurses.
Right. That's interesting. So yeah, in those worlds, they're definitely working out contracts that are still
we're way off topic, but yeah.
No, I'm just trying to think back. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. The smaller hospitals are going to have some of those for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the way they've been doing it for 20, 30 years, and until they're forced to change, that's the way it'll be.
No, it's totally true. I think it's just one of those things where you're like, yeah. I'm just trying to think, like, there's so many levels of complexity where it's like, I'm a small little critical access hospital. I have my own things I can't get out of, It's like, if I'm this really, really large health system. And I do think, like, one thing I told them, I'm curious to know your reaction to this. One thing I told them...
Them being who?
The group I was with, these parents.
Okay, yeah.
They were asking me, to understand it. So I was walking through, I said... And so the one guy was like... He's like, well, why would I pay a bill then? Should I pay a bill? And I said, well, not really. I said, there's no real repercussion for it. I said, one of the things
that depends on who you're getting the bill from, to be fair.
True.
If you're getting it from a nonprofit, sure, there's no repercussion.
True.
But yeah.
But I said, one thing that's happened is like, because, I've always said that, like, there's no bill lower on the priority scale than a hospital bill. Even your physician bill, because you might know your physician, you might see them, they're a person to you.
Yeah, you're paying for an inanimate room that you don't remember. Yeah.
But the hospital becomes this like enigma. I said, one of the things that's happened, I'm curious to on this, is that the health system mergers in these larger and larger health systems. And I'll use an example of, like, in Michigan, like, 2 of the largest health systems joined and made Corewell, Beaumont and Spectrum, who are totally different markets. Like, the whole thing is like, okay, they're totally different markets. And I said, well, what happens is because these guys are in Detroit, so they're like, I said, it becomes kind of like an enigma. Like, this big organization is not a community hospital anymore. And so there's almost no community hospitals left in Michigan. They're a part of some larger system. So it's like, yes, you have a community hospital, but it just
becomes an anonymous transaction.
It doesn't feel like this is my hospital in my community.
Yeah.
You guys might have a different thing in innovation because those hospitals are independent. But, like, I think what the health system mergers have actually caused part of the problem we're describing.
So I have 2 or 3 thoughts on this, if I can remember them all. One, to your point about, no, you really shouldn't pay, or yes, you should pay. You should pay your bills. You should pay your bills, please. However, and I imagine you've heard of this, there's like a whole big TikTok trend about don't pay your medical bills. So, like, the whole...
No, I haven't heard this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, like, the whole generation, like, this whole younger generation now, is going to TikTok, and all these TikTok influencer people are saying, like, just don't pay it. And so that's actually become a real problem. We've seen that with some of our hospitals, is like, you've got a younger demographic of folks that are less likely to pay their hospital bills, partially because TikTok's telling them it's okay, which is wild, like wild. And there's no repercussions, and it's just one of those things that, like, you don't really want to go after. So that's my first thought. Second thought on the community thing, yes, I think you're right. Like, for us, for the space we play in, somebody gets a bill, they're calling their buddy who's on the board of the hospital. Like, it's very different. So that happens all the time.
Yeah.
It's a community hospital. They feel some sort of
connection,
allegiance or connection.
No, totally.
And so they're more likely to pay their bill or set up a payment plan or whatever it is, because that is their community. It's, in many cases, the biggest employer in their city.
For sure.
And they know somebody who works there, and they know that if they don't pay their bill, they may not get their paycheck next week, right?
Correct.
The third thing, which is very off topic, but since you brought it up and you know me, the hospital merger thing is just an arms race, right? Like, this is pure business school 101. Like, the payers have way more power. They've got all the supplier power, and the hospitals need to have the buyer power, or
right.
flip-flop it. But effectively, it's the more scale we have, the more leverage we have in negotiations, and that's really what it is. It's like, can we drive our supply costs down? Can we drive our labor costs down? Can we negotiate better rates? And so, like, there is a question around, like, is the benefit of that outweighing the fact that, well, maybe people are less likely to pay their bills? And, that's why there's so many companies out here that are Medicaid eligibility, find something, right? Meanwhile,
but I would argue I don't know if it does. Like I don't know. I know you're saying it is like the question of is the benefit of these much larger health systems actually getting what a consultant like you and I used to be telling them it would get? And I don't know if that's.
I mean, it depends on their self-pay population, or the BAI balances, right? Like I don't know. And
that's true.
But then there's the regulatory side of this, like the big macro side of this, which is, well, we know that for the last 5-6 years that patient liabilities have become a much larger portion of the overall revenue the hospital expects. It used to be 3-4%. Now we're looking 5-10%, depending on the hospital. And so it goes back to your question: what's the cost benefit of, hey, we do the merger, there's this much value, but maybe we're losing this much cash. The revenue's there, but it's the cash that you're collecting.
But also, United is large. It's so large that I don't know. Like, I know they're not the only one, but they almost don't care. Like that Corewell is larger. They're like, okay, that's nice. We're the largest healthcare company in the world. Like, it almost doesn't matter to them.
Unless you're right. Unless, and this is the strategy, you can get all those covered lives in that entire region, so United has nowhere else to send their patients.
Right.
Because then people start moving off United. If you're an employer in Detroit, and all of a sudden United isn't taking at your hospitals, you're going to have to find a new insurance company.
But it does go. You have to go through the process of like pulling out of their contract, right? Like going through the messy thing where it's like billboards and it's smear campaigns.
But you know this.
I know
this. Some consultant is doing the Excel spreadsheet to figure out whether it's worth it, and it may not be worth it.
True.
It may not be worth it in the short term, but somebody has decided that the 3 to 5 year return on that is going to be much better than the 1 year pain.
It's just painful. I think there's all this other administrative costs associated with it. That's just super painful.
And the pain ensures that everybody has jobs. Right. It goes back to the AI conversation.
Right.
The less streamlined it is, the more theoretical job value creation. Yeah. I mean, we're 20% of the GDP. You're going to wipe half of that away through automation. Good luck. It's not politically viable.
Right. Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen overnight.
Fresh take.
Fresh take. But you take 10% out of the GDP, you got a problem.
I mean, but think about that. Like, I mean, healthcare, and I realize healthcare isn't just Rev Cycle and isn't just provider, but if you think about it, healthcare is like 18 to 20% of the entire gross domestic product of the U.S. I mean, think about what automation and streamlining would actually do to that. Even if you take, I mean, let's say there's, I'm gonna try to do some quick math and probably fail spectacularly.
Oh boy.
But let's say there's 330 some odd million, 350 some odd million people in the U.S. Let's say there's 300 working adult type people. Let's say that healthcare is 20%, so 20% of the 300 million is 60 million people. Okay. And let's say you take the 20%, let's say you even get rid of 2% and bring it down to 18%. 2%, that's a 10% reduction on 60 million jobs. That's 6 million jobs that would go away. You think that's going to happen? Like, you think that's politically viable on either side?
Like back in the napkin.
We're going crazy now.
No,
but
it's true.
But that's 10% reduction of healthcare GDP through automation. That's 6 million jobs. Again, back in the envelope, but I keep hitting the mic. Sorry.
Sorry, Rome.
Sorry.
He can edit that out.
Hello.
I was just listening to that Zach Cass guy from OpenAI. He just did this talk here, and it was really good. And I thought he was great. And he was saying about the dock workers was something they were watching closely. The dock workers weren't arguing for more. Remember the strike? This is, I don't know, maybe back in March in LA, San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
So they were basically just going on strike, and they were saying, like on CNN, like the guys like, they basically wanted guarantees that they weren't going to get replaced by automation.
Yeah.
And it wasn't asking for the first time, like Union's not asking for more money or more benefits. It's or safer work.
It's preservation.
It's like preservation.
Yeah.
And so he's like, so I sent an email to the guy because I was like, I want to know, because this guy's at UVA now, like a researcher. He's like, who benefits from getting your way? And he's like, I didn't get a nice email back. But it was good because it was like, he's like, actually, if they automate the docks, we all benefit, and even the dock workers' kids eventually will benefit.
Yeah.
But he goes, there's a catch. The catch is, it's like those jobs don't exist anymore.
It's relatively painful in the short term
painful.
for long-term value unlock.
And then there's this long-term effect, right? And he was saying it's like identity crisis of like, who are we then? If we're not these jobs, and like, how do we? So he goes, there will be this bad period.
But this happens. We're like waxing theoretically here, which I love. This happens all the time with everything. I mean, taxi drivers complaining about the Uber drivers,
Totally.
now complaining about the Waymos, like the truck drivers with the automated trucks. Your point about the dock workers, the same thing. I live in LA. The whole like strike in Hollywood, the writers worried about writing scripts because people can just write scripts with AI now. There's like the human side to this, and then there's the progress side to this, and I don't know what the answer is. I'm not qualified to speak to that. You need some like actual philosopher, not just some Rev Cycle geek like me. But it's like, what is the societal cost of progress, and are we okay with that holistically? And is it just going to happen no matter what?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And how quickly like it's shifting, and how quickly it's changing, and how quickly they're moving forward. One of the things he said was he broke. I can't think of the AI guy.
Sam Altman. Yeah.
He said, I think we just broke Ohm's law, which was, it takes
Moore's law.
Moore's law
about the capacity,
the
doubling,
and like doubling, and he's
law,
like, we just broke it, and I don't know if it's ever going to come back. Like, it was just like,
you're just like iteratively moving so much faster.
Every 7 months now, it's like faster than more than double or 3 times as fast, like 3 times better. It's crazy. So it's like stopping is like not a thing. It's like trying to figure out how you create enough of a society where it's like we got to figure out how, like, again, the identity part. I do think of like his whole part about like losing identity. I think that's like super insightful.
It's the losing identity thing, and then what's also interesting, we're not going to go down this topic, or we're not going to go down this route, but there's also, the talk in Silicon Valley about like, somebody's going to do it better be us. Right?
Totally.
Like some global actor is going to figure this out, and if it's not us, we're probably in trouble. So like, you compound the whole societal question around with that, it takes it to a whole other level, right? Again, like levels that you and I are probably not qualified to speak to.
No, it's so true.
Yeah.
He talked a little bit about the bad actors, like the low bad actor who's like the individual with low means, right? Don't really have the means. He's
like the guy that steals my Google password.
Right. But he goes, the bad actors that have like states and who have real means. He goes, those are the ones that we have to do both. But he's like, those are the ones in history have always caused the most problems.
But it's twofold though. It's the bad actor piece and like what comes of the bad acting. And then it's also the positive moving forward. It's that whole like, what is that next iteration? We now live in an Uber and Lyft world. We've kind of moved on from the taxi world unless you're at the airport. Like, how do we move to the Waymo world, and does that come from somewhere else, or do we do that? Like, do we want to be a net exporter of the new world, or do we want to be a net importer of that? Again, like political questions that I love talking about, but...
Or just rejection of it as a society. Like, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
My daughter, who's like 16, refused. We were in San Francisco together, and she's like, I'm not riding in one of those. So I'm like, we can
awesome.
do it.
They're awesome.
We can totally do it. She's like, I'm not doing it.
Why?
She was like, I don't trust it.
So it's not like that wasn't like an anti-progress thing. That was just like, I don't feel safe in a safe driving car or a self-driving car.
Yeah, she said, I don't trust AI.
Oh, that's great.
Not enough.
Oh, that's awesome.
And she's using AI. She actually is paying for ChatGPT's membership.
It's like $20 a month or something?
$20 by herself. She's 16. Yeah. She didn't have a job. Like, okay.
I have not paid for it, though I probably should.
I am paying for it now.
You are?
It's so much. Because I can do projects.
Yeah.
We've digressed, but you can do projects and then upload those documents to the project, which are still secure. They're not using that in the large language model. I did check. But it's great because I can keep things in and so I go back to the project, I can just keep asking questions directly to the project and not have to reference it, and it's like, it's awesome.
It's funny, I've thought about paying for it because I use it every once in a while to create and read a bedtime story to my daughter.
Yeah.
So I'll just like tell it, and
awesome.
it'll tell a story. And then my daughter likes playing with it because she'll like, using the microphone, she'll tell it, I want to create a pink purple unicorn flying over the clouds. And it only let her do like 3 before, so like, I got to pay for this. She gets really frustrated.
Yeah, that's the thing. But I have found that I'm like, I don't actually use like Google anymore.
Yeah, because you just get a direct answer.
Because it's so much better, and it's so much, ChatGPT is so much better. And just giving me the information, and then I can qualify it. It's like, well, do you want to know that? And I was like, oh, actually, I do want to know that.
But here's the other interesting thing is we're talking about ChatGPT, and obviously AI is a much broader ecosystem. But I'm just going to say it, for like folks our age and older, ChatGPT is kind of like the primary use case, right? I get all these, this is ridiculous, I get all these like Instagram ads from these like influencer people trying to buy their course, and it's just like, here's what you don't know about AI. Here are the 50 use cases you guys need to learn because you think ChatGPT is it. It's like, no, I know it's not that.
Yeah,
but,
right.
It's the easiest thing to use right now.
I just want, there's a program that I get an ad for. It's like, that's good, will read your email and like write, and I'm like, dude, I feel like I gotta like try this out.
I think a lot of the consulting companies do that.
Dude, I got 5 email addresses, and most of it's not good. So I'm like, I just gotta figure out like how to get it so it's like, tell me the ones and then respond if I think I need to respond.
You should just go down to one. Just
want to.
ben@gmail.com, which you probably have to buy from somebody for like $4 million.
Actually, no, I have ben.regal.
Ben.regal, but you don't have bet.
That's true. That's
it's like all the Twitter handles, like Jack at Twitter.
That's impossible.
I'm Scooper too, because somebody took Scooper.
That's pretty good, actually.
Yeah, I got it a long time ago.
I was, early on. You remember you had to get invited into Gmail?
Yeah.
And my buddy got in, and he's like, I'm inviting you. I got 2 invites. I'm like, yes. So I was able to get my name, which was awesome.
I was so sad that Scooper was taken. I was like, who else wants to be Scooper? Like, I embrace that.
Yeah, nobody.
Thanks. That makes me feel good inside.
No, it was probably some dog scooping service. They're like, oh, this is perfect.
Awesome. Awesome.
You're like, no,
Scooper
it's
Scott
Cooper. It's my name.
I do keep randomly. This is actually
or an ice cream company, I guess. Ice cream company. Ooh. Scooper. That's better. It's a better analogy.
That's a good idea.
Sorry.
No. I do get a lot of. Somebody in Alabama keeps using my email address completely randomly, and I get their medical records, which is obviously a HIPAA violation. And I always email back. I get like 1 every 3 weeks from the same thing. I'm like, this is the wrong email address. Please stop. Still come.
Yeah. That's such is life. All right, Scott, thanks so much for coming on the show, man. Yeah, we're past the time.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that amazing?
We started late, though.
Isn't that amazing?
I'm getting kicked out, everybody.
No, thanks for coming on, man. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Good to catch up. See, you said off topic, but I mean, we didn't have any topics. We didn't have any topics.
I know.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.